Don't know if the computer's giving out on me or if it's the YouTube keeps cutting off, so hopefully I can get this thing done again. Bill, Sue, thank you so much for meeting with me here today. Appreciate the opportunity to get together, and I don't know if there's something or not that we have that may help you, but I'll go through the areas we work in, such as increasing cash flow, decreasing debt, and reducing taxes. We also specialize in life insurance and annuities and how they can shave years off of your retirement date. As we're going through the process, I'm going to jot down some information in this form, financial needs assessment sheet, and we jot down some things, gathering some information, and that way when we get back together, at that point we can go over through some of the specifics. Nothing to sell, there's nothing for you to buy, so just sit back and relax. Okay. So who is Federal Financial Group? Federal Financial Group is a company that represents, it's national, and it represents several insurance companies and financial institutions that have billions of dollars of assets, as well as have been in business for about 100 years or more. Many of them have been. And so what we do is teach people about money, how it works, how you can make it work for you so that you could make it work better. Now, as far as specifically, our goal is one thing, and that is to help you become financially independent, period. Now, what that means is that the money that you have put away, the interest in the money that you have put away is growing and eventually replaces the money that you now earn from salaries or from your business. And at that point, you don't have to work anymore. You can choose to, but you don't have to, and unless you want to. And that is really what financial independence is. So, would you like to know how to get there? Sooner the better. Absolutely. Well, that's kind of where I'm headed. So, but what are the challenges that we have here today? What are the challenges that most people face today? Real bored to talk about that. Well, here's some of the issues. Incomes have increased, but expenses keep going up and up. And so people, Americans, are having a really difficult time keeping up with their expenses. And so what ends up happening is that they begin to create debt. And that also creates insecurity. And then, of course, that now creates bad saving habits. And that is a huge, huge problem. Let me cover some of this. Now, just think about this. Out of 100 people today at 65 years of age, out of 100 people, only 4 of them are financially independent. Only 4. And that's because they're earning maybe $35,000 a year or more. Only 4. So what are the other 96 doing? Well, they depend on family, and they depend on charity, and many are doing what most people are doing today. They're going back to work. They can't stay retired. They have to go back to work. And that's not a real comfortable place to be. I mean, the other day I went out on break and went for lunch, sitting there one of these restaurants, and fast food restaurants, say Wendy's, for example, and I'm sitting there and I'm going through my stuff, and I notice one of their employees is, cleaning tables, cleaning counters, cleans the bathrooms. They're there scraping gum and cleaning windows and whatnot, and there's nothing wrong with an employee doing that. The problem is, what really, really hurt here is that lady was my mom's age. And I guarantee you, when she was your age, Bill, Sue, she didn't think she was going to be working that. She didn't think she was going to be working at a fast food restaurant. It's not like she didn't have anything else to do and she wanted to go work. It's like she had to work there. She had to have the income. That is devastating. That is heartbreaking. So what's the solution? Well, what we do here at Federal Financial Group is we use 7 steps and we kind of interweave them together so that we can help you establish a strong financial future. And what we want to do is make sure that you obtain your financial independence as soon as possible, much quicker, as fast as possible in a realistic way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through these 7 steps of what we do here with Federal Financial Group, and as I'm going through them, keep in mind what are the areas that really jump out at you, areas that you say, oh wow, this is really, really important, or something that catches your attention. I'll be jotting down those notes as I told you at the beginning, and so be sure to let me know so I can make a notation on that, and then I'll come back and cover the specifics. Okay? I'll have that strategy set up for you, and we'll be able to work through that. So step one is inspect what you expect. And here what we want to do is we want to look at what your money doing. In order to have the money that you need for your future goals and dreams, you got to know what your money's doing right now. And so in order for you to be able to know what your money's doing right now, you got to have this thing, a tracking system or a way to manage and monitor what's going on with your money. In other words, you got to inspect what you expect your money to do. And so real important to figure what that is. We have a system that you could probably tap into as a customer and utilize our system, sophisticated software that helps you track your expenses and your incomes and puts you in the right track to make sure that you have something you're working with. So that's step one. Inspect what you expect. You got to know where your money is, and you got to know where your money's going. Well, we're going to help you with that. The second one is increasing your cash flow. Increasing cash flow because, well, let's start here. How would you define increased cash flow? Bill, Sue? Well, that's good. Well, let's define cash flow as this. The money that's left over after your personal expenses are covered. After you paid your bills at the end of the month, whatever's left over, that is your cash flow. Is that okay with you? Can we agree on that? Excellent. So let me ask you this. Would you be able to use a system that helps you track and manage all of your expenses at the end of the month? Make sure your debt's being serviced correctly? See, we have that system. At the end of the month, at the end of the year, let me ask you, are you getting a tax return? You are. Well, what's that amount? What's the average that you get on a yearly basis? Okay, that's good. You see, I asked one of our clients the same question, and he gets between $3,000 and $4,000 in returns every year. And so I posed this question. So you're telling me that you're paying the government money out of your paycheck, and you're letting them keep it and then return it to you with 0% interest at the end of the year. And he looks at me and he says, that doesn't make sense. And I said, no, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense. You're right. It doesn't make sense. Real important that we look at that. And you are also, from what I understand, you're getting a huge return. And so we need to look at how that money could be working for you. So, government doesn't need to be hanging on to your money. Okay? So step 3 is eliminate debt. Now, eliminate debt is real important to look at what's going on. Are you almost out of your mortgage? Are you almost out of your credit cards? Are you in the middle of your credit cards? You're almost out of where are you with your mortgage? What's your payment? How about your cars? How about your credit cards? Okay. Do you pay extra on your mortgage? You do. Okay. And on your mortgage? On your car? No. Okay. On your credit cards? Yeah. You're trying to get rid of them. Okay. So you're paying extra on that. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for that information. Real important as we're going through this whole debt eliminator, managing your debt and all that. When we get back together the next time, we'll come back here in my next appointment. We can look at helping you make this difference. See, on our booklet here, we have a chart. You could pay off debt right away and put extra money on it, or you could do the same process, but at the same time totally increasing the money that could be helping you become financially independent. Doing both at the same time instead of doing one and putting the other one on hold. Very important, really interesting, huh? Well, we have software that helps you manage all of that. The next one, this is a biggie, really important. Um, Make sure you have that. That's step 4. Step 4 is developing an emergency fund. What I find is that most people don't even have one. No emergency fund. And so what happens? An emergency comes up, out comes the plastic. And so that $1,800 transmission for the car, 3 or 4 years later, it's $3,000 or $4,000 for that same transmission. You see, this is the kind of stuff that's really hurting people. You see, an emergency fund has to have 4 factors. It must be liquid, must be safe, must be liquid, must earn a better rate of return than a checking account, and it must be separate and systematic. Now, let me ask you, have you ever tried to save money in a checking account? It doesn't work. It just doesn't work for whatever reason. It never happens. You see, the main point here, it's got to be out of sight and out of mind, where you don't see it. You don't even know it's there. So we recommend, or we encourage, that you open a separate account, such as a money market account, and then have them drafted. It's got to be systematic, and it's got to be safe. And so, you got to make sure that on a regular basis they're pulling out money, and they're putting into your bank account. That account is earning a better rate of return than definitely a checking account. And so it's building up. You're building money in there. So when an emergency comes, you have the money. And so what that does is it helps you keep your credit card balance at 0, as well as it helps you not tap into the money that you've worked so hard to try and set for your financial future, and avoid those horrible tax penalties just to access your own money. It's simple, it's powerful, and it works. So let's look at step 5. And step 5 is protect what you have. And here what we want to protect is against loss of life and loss of income. Really important piece here. Tragic but true. It's sad when you see a family and you have a dad and a mom and you have a couple of kids and they have their home and their cars and whatnot, and then all of a sudden mom or dad, they're gone. And now not only do you have the individual who's gone, but you also have loss of income. And now who's going to pay the mortgage? Who's going to pay the cars? Who's going to continue to carry the debt? Who's going to help these people get themselves straightened out during their time of loss? What's going to prepare them? What's going to help them for the future? You see, really, really crucial. I'm sure you either know someone or know someone who knows someone who's gone through this kind of thing. And if you don't believe me, watch TV. You watch TV, they always doing a car wash and donation boxes, and they set up bank accounts to try and help people who never expected to be the victims of this kind of loss. So, protecting your loss of income and protecting your assets and protecting the loss of life is crucial to setting a good and solid financial plan. And what we do is this. We like to continue to fill, this form out and get all the information down, because every family is a little bit different. So we customize, make sure that we have our financial needs form filled out. We put it through our system, and when I come back, I bring you a plan that's really going to work for you, that has the right amount of insurance, and it has the right amount of coverage and the right amount of protection to keep you with cash flow and protecting your assets in case of loss. Okay, so that's step 5. Our next one is step 6. And step 6, this is a biggie. This is really a big one. This one, everyone likes best. And this is about creating long-term savings and long-term income. Now, I can be totally honest with you. If you listen to me, this could change the quality of your life. Now, there's 2 battles you've got to win, 2 elements at work here. 2 battles you got to win the money game. Because if you don't integrate these, the chances of you becoming financially independent probably won't happen. And if it does, it's way out there. So, what are the two battles that you have to win? Well, first one is inflation, and I'll cover that in just a minute. And the second one is the tax battle. Because the tax battle, because it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And taxes can really, really hurt you if you're not careful. So let's talk about inflation. Let's talk about the inflation. Have you ever heard of the Rule of 72? Well, the Rule of 72 states that if you have money, let's say you have money in a savings account, it's earning 4%, then you take that 4%. You take 72 divided by that 4, and that number, it tells you how many years it takes for your money to double. So let's say that, let me give you this example. Let's say you have 4% earning savings account, and you have $100, and it's earning 4%. So divide 72 by 4%, it gives you 18. So that means that in 18 years you have $200. So what happens in another 18 years? Exactly, it doubles again, and so now you have 400. So let me ask you this question: 36 years from now, will $400 buy what $100 buys now? Probably. Well, that's inflation. That's really the story of inflation. So let me explain to you another one. Let me give you another example. So what if you're 29 years old and you have $10,000 instead of 100, and it's earning 4%. And so again, we take the 72 and divide that by 4, and now it's got 18. So 18 years from now, you have $20,000. And so what happens in another 18 years? Exactly. You have $40,000. Then you're now 65 years old, and you have $40,000. $40,000. Now that's inflation. So let's cover this. So you have $40,000. You're 65 years old. The house is paid. Kids are gone. You want to retire, but you have $40,000 to your name. Now, at the rate that you're using money right now, how long do you think that's going to last you? A year? Maybe more if you're frugal. But then what? You're out of money. And now you're out there working at one of those restaurants, like that woman I saw, like that lady I saw, like the people you and I see on a regular basis. Now, this is the biggest thing. Biggest problem here is we're out of time. Who wants to work after age 65? You see, the only thing we could have done different is change the interest rate. And so, what if potentially we could have given you 6 to 12%, which would now have greater financial independence? Absolutely, absolutely. So, I'm going to show you a chart here that's going to help you understand this a little bit better, how this all works. Let's say that we take the same $10,000 and we put it and earn 6%. Now at age 65, you have $80,000. And at 8%, you have $160,000. And if it's earning 12%, you have $640,000. Isn't that amazing? You see, the only difference between this guy and this guy is the interest rate. You see? But it cost this guy $600,000. Now, isn't that amazing? Isn't that, I mean, I don't know, it just blows my mind. Now, isn't this an important principle for you to learn? You see, if you would save for you a little bit every month with a good rate of return, this could change the quality of your life. And you see, it's not about having $10,000. It's about saving a little bit at a time and a monthly basis. And the time will come when you're not out earning your money, but your money is out earning you. Now, isn't that something? That is financial independence. So the $1 million question is this: where can I earn a better rate of return than what I'm getting now? I mean, that's really the big question. Where can I get a better interest rate, and where can I protect my principal, and how can I safeguard so that I'm not losing any money? Well, actually, there's three strategies that you can use that fit that criteria. And I'm going to give you a summary of all three. Most important part here is that you let me know, so I can write down on my sheet here, which one of these three really gets your attention. Which one is most important to you, so that I can come back with a strategy on my next appointment and make sure that we can implement a strategy that's going to work for you. Okay, so I'm going to go through these three, and then you let me know which one works best for you. The first one is called a fixed strategy. And the fixed strategy is this. Well, it's fixed, and you have a fixed rate. And so it's predictable. It's protected. You can guarantee, it's guaranteed on what's good you're going to get and what's going to come back to you. So that's the upside to that. The downside to that is that it's usually a low rate, very small. And the downside to that could be that inflation could outgrow the pace that you're getting an interest rate on. That's the downside to it. But hey, it's guaranteed. It's a fixed rate. The second one is completely the opposite side of the spectrum, and that's a stock and a mutual fund strategy. And that one's based really on the stock market, and the upside to it is that it has the potential to earn a great potential to earn a lot of high returns, but it also suffers the dangers of perhaps losing all of your money. And we know that that's a big possibility, because a lot of people have lost their money in the stock market recently, right? And why? Because the market's been really unstable lately. So that's what the second one is. So the third strategy is what we call the index strategy. And the index strategy, beauty of it is, protects your principal. And the second thing is it protects your interest. So pretty much it's pretty assured, it's a pretty assured product that you're not going to lose the money that you have in there. That's a really good thing. The downside is that it is directly connected to the activity of the S&P 500. There's no money actually in it, but it is directly connected to the S&P 500. So the good thing about that is that the S&P 500 for the past 25 years has been averaging about 10%. That's not too bad. Now, which of these three really makes most sense to you? The index strategy. That's a no-brainer, you say? Okay, well, that's a no-brainer. Okay, well, the index strategy. Let me talk to you more about this. This is a really popular strategy to put your money in. Let's talk about this for a minute. You've heard of the S&P 500. Well, the S&P 500 are the 500 most widely held companies in the market today. They represent over 100 of the industry groups, such as technology and the whole healthcare and the utilities and et cetera, different services out there. The neat thing about that is that it also has the S&P 500 holds about 70% of the equity market, which is 70% of the economy, of the American economy today. So very stable as far as that's concerned. And again, it's been averaging about 10% for the past 25 years. That's not too bad. And if you had invested money in the stock market or the S&P 500 25 years ago, earning 10% for the past 25 years, would you like that account right now? Absolutely. So when we get back together, real important is that we determined that the index strategy is what's going to work for you. I'll put together these numbers, use my sheet, and put it through the system, let it work its numbers, and I'll come back and explain to you the terms, the conditions, the fees, the money, the caps, the terms, conditions, fees, caps, floors that come to the whole strategy. And so we'll come back and make sure we cover that on the next appointment. But really the big question is, how does the S&P 500, how does the index strategy gain its percent of interest? How does it gain interest? How does that work? Let me explain that to you. Well, let's use that example of the $10,000 that I shared with you earlier. And let's say that you have $10,000 and you put it into an index strategy, and for the first year it earns 10%, because we know stock market has been earning about a 10%. I mean the S&P 500, and so at the end of the year you've got $11,000. Makes sense, right? Um, so what happens in the next year? Well, it earns another 10%. And so as it goes up, now you have 12,100 the next year. And so what happens on the third year? In the third year, the market takes a plunge, goes all the way down, and let's say it goes down 20%. Well, you don't go down with the rest of the market. It stays pretty much stable. You don't earn any extra interest, but you don't lose any extra interest, and you don't lose the amount that you have in there. So what happens on the fourth year? Well, on the next year. So the next year, let's say the market comes back up again a little bit. Well, that's where you start your climb, your ascend back up again. So you don't gain, but you don't lose. And as the market comes up, then you grow with it. And that's how the index strategy gets its crediting interest rate. Now you can see why this is very popular, very, very popular. So you don't lose interest, you don't lose your principal, and you continue to gain as the market gains. So a lot of people really like this. The downside is that, you may have a year that's just pretty flat, and that's okay. But we're looking at the long run. What does it do long term? And so, although this is really exciting, this really beats the inflation. We can't just stop there, because we got to win two battles. We got to win the inflation battle, and we have to win the tax battle. So I'm going to show you an example, and I'm going to tell you a story. This guy goes into a banker, and he says, "Hey, Mr. Banker, I want to make $1 million by age I'm 60. I'm only 30 years old, and I'd like to have $1 million by the time I'm 60. So what do I need to do to have $1 million by age 60?" So the banker goes in there and he works the numbers and he works the magic that he needs to do, and he says, "Well, there's a CD that we can give you. It earns about 5%, and they earn about 3% now. But let's say back then it earned 5%." And he says, "So you need to come into my office and give me $1,639 every month." That example, every month for the next 30 years, so that you can have $1 million. Well, you can imagine he was totally deflated and walks out of there and didn't save a dime, and he's the guy now working at one of these fast food restaurants. Didn't save a dime. And so what if we could have taught him? What if we could have taught him how to win the tax battle and the inflation battle? What would that do? Well, let's look at what if we taught him to win the inflation battle and put him in something that's a little bit better, like in the index strategy. Well, he would only have to come up with $899 a month. And so that's earning 10%, just like the stock market did. Well, that's better. That's $700 less than what this one is, but $900? How many people do you know that can really come up with $900 a month and put them away for the next 30 years? Anybody? Do you know anybody like that? That's pretty tough. That's a pretty tough number. Now, it can be done, but that's a pretty tough number to come up with, right? It's a little steep. Well, so what if we could help him win both the inflation battle and the tax battle in the same plan? Well, this is the number he would have to come up with. $438.73. Now, what do you think about that? What does that number look like for you? Is that doable? Absolutely. How many people do you know that can put away $450 a month? Exactly. It's very possible. In fact, you could be doing that. It looks like we know where that money's going now every month. You could be doing this. Exactly. I mean, reducing your taxes and avoiding the loss of principal and and making sure that you're protecting that interest, getting a good interest, protecting that money is really, really crucial. You know, the important thing about this is that in step 6, when we're done with step 6, a person can pretty much know how long, when they're going to be out of debt, when they will become financially independent. That is really pretty exciting. That is really neat to know that we can shave years off of their retirement plan and make it work for them. You know, what if, let me ask you this, what if you were financially independent right now? What would you be doing? What would you do with your time, your money, your energy? What would you be doing right now? Great, that's fantastic. That's awesome. And that right there demonstrates that, you know, when you are financially independent, you have options. You have options to do whatever it is that you want to do. That's a beautiful story. You know, the other day we were doing the implementation phase to one of our other clients, and that's our second appointment. You come in and we present all the plan. After we were done with the implementation phase, the wife gets up and she is just so excited. She says, I can go door to door knocking and ask all my neighbors and call all my friends and relatives and ask them, hey, when are you going to be financially independent? And they wouldn't have a clue. They wouldn't know. But I know when I'm going to be financially independent. And she was just so excited that, I mean, her and her husband, they were just so together. They were just so together, so on that, because they could see the light at the end of the tunnel. They could see when this was all going to happen, and it was doable, and it was affordable, and it wasn't something that was outrageous. It was something that was workable within them, and that is what's really, really exciting. So you can see why step 6 is everybody's favorite. And so that pretty much covers that, and I hope we'll be able to walk down that road with you. Let me move down to step 7. And step 7 is estate planning. And I take this pretty serious. This estate planning, one of my favorites. Why? Because step 7 is really focusing on getting yourself prepared, reducing your tax burden, reducing the complication. When someone passes, what do you do with all your assets and, you know, everything that you own, your estate? You know, how do you manage all of those kind of things? Also, how to direct your assets. Where do you want all those things to go? I don't know if you use an attorney now or you're not, or, you know, who handles that for you, who manages that for you. One of the things that people never think about is incapacitation, and you probably read stories or heard stories where somebody gets in a car accident, they can't, they're not dead, but they're fully alive, but they can't take care of themselves, and nobody has the power to maintain them or help them, or nobody has the right to make decisions for them, and you never think about that. You don't think it's going to happen to you, but those kind of things do happen, and you need to be prepared for those. Who's going to take the legal and financial responsibilities should something like that happen? So if you don't have an attorney or you don't have somebody who does estate planning for you, there's a company we would love to introduce you to. They manage those details for you. They're professional, and they're very affordable, and by the time you're done, we can really interweave, like I say, the 7 steps together and make sure that we have a solid financial plan for you, so that you know where you're headed and how you're going to get there. So that pretty much covers estate planning step 7. Now, this is really pretty neat. I've been filling out this information, and I just need to re-ask a couple of these questions. And one of my questions is there any financial decisions that you're going to be doing in the next big expenses, or anything that you're looking to do in the next few months? There isn't? Okay, great. Um, which of the 7 steps that you like say, I really need help with this? This is something, this really jumped out at me. Could you? Step 6, index strategy. Okay, I got that. Okay, so we'll be working on that one. Is there another one that you'd like to do, or would you like the referral on this estate planning and the emergency fund? Okay, excellent, very good. So definitely, I'll be putting some of this thing together. Be putting this to our computer, and making sure that we have this analysis printed out and make it work for you. So um, the other thing is I'm looking at this, this is kind of a rough guess, just from the information I've gathered. It looks really good, like good and bad. From what you have here, you potentially have about $650 that you don't even know you have. That could be working for you. And if that number is correct, good or bad, good times, bad times, good weather, bad weather, regardless of what that is, if you had those $650, how much of that do you think you would put or invest into your financial future to become financially independent? What number from that 650, what do you think would really work for you realistically? 420. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Okay. Well, like I say, I'll be able to put all this together. I'm really excited. You have a lot of money here put together that you can use for yourself. We could really put into your emergency fund and put all this together. Understand we're meeting. We're meeting on Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday evening. Fantastic. And so this is really an exciting, really exciting time. I have to ask you 3 questions. Is that okay? Excellent. The 3 questions are this. Let's say that I come back and I present to you a package that has, you could look at it and go, wow, I'm really comfortable with that. That is fantastic. Yes, yes, this will work for me. I'm really comfortable. This looks like something I can do. If I could come back with something like that for you, is there any reason why we can't do business? Excellent. And the next question is, when would you like to start? Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday. Excellent. And one last thing. Would you be comfortable with me to sit down and brainstorm a couple of names of people and individuals that you know that you think, hey, this would be a wealth of information? I don't want you to keep me a secret, and I'd love to be able to meet with other people that you think, hey, this would be of great value. And so can we meet? Is there any reason why we can't meet next week on Wednesday and discuss these the names and contacts of these individuals that you think would have value in this? So really appreciate. Oh, excellent. You'll be going through your phone list. Excellent, excellent. Okay, well, definitely we'll come together Wednesday, and I'll bring you the strategies, the plans after we run it through our system, and sit down and be able to do this with you. One last piece is this. Based on what I've gathered here, you would really value listening to our tax expert, and our tax expert could really shed some light on some things that you can do based on the information I have here, that you can really grasp and say, okay, I totally understand how this whole tax thing could really work to my advantage. And so I'm going to do, I can't guarantee, but I'm going to do everything I can to invite that individual to come and join me and share with you a little bit about how the whole taxes could work to your advantage. Okay, so if I come accompany Wednesday, great. And if I can't get a hold of them, I don't know what their schedule's like, but just be sure to give them a warm welcome. Great individual. I like to bring great people together with great people, and so I look forward to meeting with you Wednesday, 7 p.m. And I'm excited about what you guys are going to be doing. Thank you so much for your time, and I got to run along and see a couple of other people. End of the tape.